Hello, I hope you're having a great week. It is sunny and warm here in Southern California, which I know if you don't live here, you're like, yeah, of course it is, but it's been chilly and rainy here. And it is like I saw a meme the other day or like something someone shared on Instagram that said, you think seasonal depression isn't a thing until the sun hits your face in February and it feels like you took a Molly. And I feel like that hits for sun coming out and feeling really, really good in February. So here we are. It's a beautiful day. And I want to talk to you about stress. This is something that is, I feel, not talked about enough in regard to fertility, misunderstood, and people think it's completely out of their control. So I want to dispel some myths, talk to you about some things you can do, and talk to you about how there's actually more than one kind of stress. It's not just what you're thinking. Like, yeah, I can't get rid of my job and move to an island and not be stressed, or I can't not think about having a baby and get rid of that stress. So let's talk first about what stress is and why it's important especially when we're talking about fertility, right? Stress impacts overall health in a huge way. The vast majority of any diseases have stress at the top of the list of reasons why. For fertility, stress is a big reason why some people aren't able to get and stay pregnant. Now, when we're working with clients, a lot of times if they aren't doing stress management work in addition to what we're doing, they'll hit a roadblock and it's like, gosh, we're having trouble getting past like 70% of the fixes we need to do. And to get them to the other side, they've really got to focus on stress management. So, what does that look like? What does stress look like in your life? When you think of stress, most people are going to think of marriage is stressful, family is stressful, finances, jobs are stressful, all of that, which is stress. That's something called mental emotional stress. Grief falls into this category. Anything that's dealing with your mind or your emotions is mental emotional stress. And this is a big category, right? This is going to impact our bodies in a big way. The second category of stress is physical stress. If you have injuries, you've been in a car accident, you have any physical stressors on your body, that is going to do the same thing biochemically as mental emotional stress. The third kind of stress is biochemical stress. So when we run our functional labs in our practice, we see things like an H. pylori infection in the gut, dysbiosis, inflammation. Those things going on in your body are biochemical stress. So those are the three kinds of stress. We've got mental, emotional, physical, and biochemical stress. All three of them are stress. And all three of them are things we want to reduce as much as possible to improve our fertility. Now, you're never going to fully get rid of stress. Like, again, we can't quit our jobs and move to an island and have a perfect little day every day. That's not how life works, and that's not the goal. We don't need to fully eliminate stress. But I want to talk to you about how these three kinds of stress, and when we're working with clients, most of them have at least the mental emotional stress. Everyone's going to have some of that. And then the biochemical stress. Some of them will have a physical stressor too, like a past car accident or injury from a sport. But altogether, those things are stressing your body out biochemically. Now, what does stress do and why does it matter for fertility? Okay, here's the way I like to describe it. When we are under stress, okay, let's back up one more step before that. Our bodies were designed to release cortisol, the stress hormone, when we're under acute stress. So when we have, I mean, like this is a dumb example, but you're running from a dog, right? There's a guy chasing you through a back alley. Cortisol should kick in, help you get through that immediate stressor and give you what it does to your body is it shuts down all non-survival functions, shuts them down pretty much so that you can focus on dealing with the stressor and put all your energy towards it. Okay. And our bodies were designed to do that primitively. They were designed to have these acute periods of stress and then come back down from it and live in homeostasis. Well, what's happened in our modern world is that we aren't living down here, we are under chronic stress. We have toxins in our skincare and our cleaning products and our food and our water that are biochemically stressing our body out. We have a ton of mental emotional stress. We are always on. How many of you are on your phones for relaxation? And I'm not judging because I fall into this trap too. It's like, oh, it's the end of the day. Like, I just want to, scroll through something mindless. That's actually stress. You're taking in other ideas. It's keeping your mind on. You're always available. People want responses to text messages immediately. People want you on email. People want you on Slack. You are expected to be on all the time. That is raising the stress level to a level of chronic stress. So acute stress, fine, right? We're biochemically designed to do that. Chronic stress, where we've got all these things going on in our gut, we're assaulted with toxins from our environment. We've got a lot of stress from the way we live with technology and how we are go 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 and always on, and we end up living in a state of chronic stress. So what does that do when you're living in a state of chronic stress? Your body, like I said a minute ago, is saying, okay, I am prioritizing survival right now. Literally, your body is like, I don't know if I'm going to survive this. I'm in survival mode. I'm in fight or flight, and so I'm going to turn off everything that doesn't have to do with survival. You know what doesn't have to do with survival? Creating another human. In fact, it's like nowhere near the list, because creating another human puts you in a more vulnerable state when your body is like, I don't know if I'm going to survive this by myself. So I'm definitely not going to create another person. So your endocrine system tells your hormones like, no, thank you. Like we're going to go offline. And it's going to be really hard to get and stay pregnant when you're in survival mode. Another big piece of your body that's going to turn off is digestion. A lot of people that are stuck in this chronic fight or flight have, regular constipation or diarrhea, or they alternate between. They've got a lot of food sensitivities. They have gas. They have bloating. They just have a lot of gut complaints. And a lot of that stems from chronic stress in their lifestyle. Okay. Not just their lifestyle, but everything going on that I talked about, those three types of stress that we talked about at the beginning. And how does this show up when we're looking at a lab test? Okay, we run a stress and hormone profile with clients to see what's going on in their adrenals. So cortisol is excreted from your adrenals, and we look to see what's going on. And a lot of times when we see, so I'll give you the geek out version of this. When you go into a state of chronic stress, at first, what's going to happen when this is a newer state for you, and you were living a fairly, you were living in homeostasis for a while. So if you are newer to chronic stress, and maybe you were doing great with a lot of things, and now, a new job in the infertility sent you spiraling, we're going to see elevated cortisol levels. Your body is going to be pumping out cortisol at very, very high levels. That's going to send you into fight or flight. That's going to send you into survival mode downstream. What we tend to see a lot is low progesterone. Low progesterone is huge. And that people are like, how do I fix my progesterone? And it's like, well, we have to figure out what are the stressors here. And again, some of them are going to be mental, emotional, and we'll talk about some things you can do to help yourself deal with those in a minute. But some of them are going to be biochemical. Some of them are going to be things going on in your body that until you run functional labs, you don't even know what's stressing your body out, because you don't know what's going on in there yet. But we will see low progesterone, which tells me that you either didn't ovulate, or if you're ovulating, it's weak. It's a weak ovulation, maybe low, poor egg quality. If you get pregnant, you might be miscarrying over and over again early on. Low sex hormones across the board are also not uncommon when you're in a state of chronic stress, like low estrogen and low testosterone. Tell me, like, chronic stress. Your body is chronically stressed. What happens when you've been living in this state for a long time is that your cortisol levels are actually just going to fall off. Your body's like, I can't do it anymore. There's a process that happens in the kidneys where the body starts preferring cortisone over cortisol. And that's the body's way of saying, like, I'm going to force her to slow down. I'm going to force her to deal with the stress she has in her life. And your body starts making cortisone to try to make you to slow down. And the cortisol is falling off a cliff. And that's when you get to a point, early on, people will say, like, I feel really wired, I feel really anxious, like they can't sit still. And then after living in that state of chronic stress for a long time, and everyone's different on the timeline here, you're going to start to say, I am exhausted all the time. Like, it's very hard to get out of bed. After lunch, I literally want to take a nap. And then a lot of women who are living in this state will get like a big second wind. It's like 8 o'clock at night and they're like, I feel good. I'm ready to go. And then they don't sleep good. And then the cycle is just, this cycle continues and continues and continues. Okay. So the moral of the story here is that stress is a major factor in fertility. And it's not as simple as like, hey, you're stressing yourself out trying to get pregnant. So maybe just don't stress about it and it will happen. None of us want to hear any of that. And that's not the solution, right? There are there are ways to deal with it. And telling someone, just stop stressing and you'll get pregnant is not the solution. But I do want to, rip the band-aid off here and say stress is a factor. Like if you're like, I'm doing everything right, but you haven't sat down with somebody else to talk through the stressors in your life and run the functional labs to see what else is going on in your body too, you're missing a big part of the puzzle. Okay. So what can you do to deal with the stressors in your life? Let's talk about the mental emotional side. For a lot of women who are going through infertility, recurrent pregnancy loss, fertility treatments, they are dealing with a lot of stress around it. And what happens to those of us who, I know most y'all out there are going to relate to this because this is a lot of our clients too. You're type A, you're super successful in your career, you built a beautiful life with friends you love and a husband you love. And this is the first time in your life where you're like, what the heck is happening? Like, what the heck is happening? I'm living I'm living right. I'm doing everything right. Like, this should be happening for me. And what happens to women like us when things don't go the way we expect them to? We dig our heels in deeper and deeper and deeper. And I would venture to guess that you're spending a lot of your free time on the internet, on message boards, searching around on different TikToks and Instagrams, trying to figure out exactly what magic bullet, what's going to be it that's going to take you from where you are now to a successful pregnancy. And I'll tell you, I totally get it. I have been there and we've walked clients through this journey. You've got to step away from the fertility monitors. You've got to step away from all these social media accounts and Googling things and really just stay away from your phone as much as possible and looking up what to do, what best fertility diets and what do I do about this, and jumping on message boards all the time because you think you're connecting maybe with other women in the same boat, but it can become pretty stressful and toxic pretty quick if that's something you're spending a lot of time on. So the goal isn't don't stress and then you'll get pregnant, but it's can you start to relinquish some control? Can you start to relinquish some control? And this whole conversation right now for the last couple minutes might actually be triggering you. It might be making you go, oh, Courtney, this is ridiculous. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing that. I am just like, I'm doing everything right. And I'm not obsessing, but I want you to like take some time to think about what I'm saying here and watch your habits and see how much you're engaging in trying to get pregnant as far as taking action throughout your day, which looks a whole lot like scrolling through a bunch of social media stuff, looking on the internet, obsessing about what you're eating, obsessing about what you're drinking, obsessing about how you're exercising. Take a hard look, like step back and go, I'm going to watch me. I'm going to watch my day like I'm somebody else and start to notice what's going on in your day-to-day routine, because there's a whole lot of stuff that you're trying to control that is quite frankly not in your control. And if you are going for perfection with the way you're eating and your lifestyle, you're also adding more stress than you're likely helping. Yes, the lifestyle stuff is important. Yes, I want you to eat whole foods and get protein and get breakfast and make sure you're getting enough calories in. And if you are obsessed about perfection and eating clean and is this organic and are there seed oils when you should be having fun with your friends at a restaurant, you are actually releasing cortisol and doing more, like putting more toxins in your body than the actual toxins of eating something that you quote unquote shouldn't have eaten. Okay. And then all of that scrolling while you're like, I'm educating myself, I'm figuring out what to do. I promise you it's not helping. follow a couple accounts. Follow, if you like me, follow my account and one or two others. Do not have it overtake everything you're doing online. And do not spend a ton of time in message boards because it's really, really a big stressor that we see in the fertility picture. Okay. If you can let that stuff go. Oh, one more thing on the fertility side that we see, the hormone monitors. I have, we've built a relationship with the folks at Mira. Anito's a comparable substitute. If you are using those and you've been using them for a while, it's time to put them away. They are an interesting way to figure out what's going on in your body and to see patterns. But I have to tell you guys, and for a while I resisted this, but I have to tell you, if you related to what I said a few minutes ago about you are type A, you had good grades, your career goes well, you married this great guy, you got great friends, you live in the neighborhood you wanted to live in. Like, you've generally pushed through to get what you want in life through hard work and being a good person, and now it's not happening for you. I promise you, those fertility monitors are stressing you out. You are obsessing about what you see on there versus last month. You're obsessing about the estrogen level versus day 7 last time. My progesterone went up. Oh no, it's going down. That's not helping you and it's not doing you any good. Put those away. Put those away, okay? So that's the fertility stuff. You can take a look at other areas of your life that are stressing you out. We've worked with clients who are in toxic jobs that have, made the job change, or they are not getting enough sleep because their job is so stressful. And they were like, we're doing good work here, but you really need to talk to your boss about working different hours so that you can get enough sleep. And that at the end of it was like, you know what? That was probably the final thing that moved the needle for her. But the fertility piece is a big one when you've been trying to get and stay pregnant for a while and you think you're like doing the things that have worked for you in other areas of your life because hard work has gotten you to where you are. Wouldn't that work here? No, please stop doing those things. Okay. The physical stressors, if you've had a car accident or you're an ex-athlete and you've got some things going on in your body or you've got a back injury, go have those things dealt with, because ongoing pain in your body is telling your body it's in fight or flight, it's in survival mode. Do not delay on that stuff. Find a physician, find a chiropractor, go get that stuff taken care of, okay? And then lastly, the biochemical stress. This is stuff that you are not going to know about unless you have run our advanced fertility labs that we offer. What's going on in your gut? What does your metabolic health look like? What do your micronutrient levels look like? Right? What do all of these things look like that are root causes for fertility challenges? And they're also root causes of biochemical stress, right? You can't out you can't out lifestyle an H. pylori infection. You can't out lifestyle a candida overgrowth. You can't out lifestyle some of the micronutrient things. Even if you're eating really, really well, if you've got stuff going on in your gut, you're going to continue to have those challenges too. So run functional labs with us and figure out what's actually going on in your body. That's a big component. Like I said, physical comes up sometimes, but really we see the mental emotional stress and the biochemical stress working together to make it very, very hard for you to get and stay pregnant. So I mentioned some things to take a look at and be honest with yourself about, maybe cut out as far as mental emotional stress. There are other tools and tricks you can use if you're not getting some, gentle movement in every day. One thing I've loved lately for stress reduction in my own life, because we're all really bad at looking at ourselves and being like, am I doing a good job? No, I'm not doing that. Until like somebody else mentions something to us, even myself as a fertility practitioner who knows these things, I'm like, I'm not stressed, I'm fine. And then I put my phone away. We have a puppy. He's 8 months old now. And for the last few months, he's been able to go on longer walks. And I've been trying to put my phone up, like leave it at home instead of in my pocket, and go for a long walk, like 2 to 4 miles. We live in a beautiful area where we can walk. There's a lake down the street. Like, I leave the phone behind, and I'm telling you, I've noticed a huge, huge difference in my stress levels. And I'm also paying attention to when I have my phone in my pocket on a walk, how they're so addicting, you guys. Like, it's so addicting to have these phones with us, because I'll pick it up, like I'll think of a question in my head and I'll be like, like I can't even remember what I thought of this morning when I had my phone with me when I was walking. I'm like Googling it while I'm walking. I'm responding to text messages. Like, find something to do for, I challenge you, even 30 minutes to an hour a day where you don't have your phone with you. And then in the evening, set a cutoff time. I tell our clients 60 minutes before bed, the electronics need to go. That means TV, that means phone, that means tablet, laptop. All that stuff needs to be turned off so your body can prepare for a really good night of sleep. That's going to help your body feel safe and come out of survival mode too. So go take a nice hot bath, go get a cup of tea and read an actual book, put your legs up the wall, do other yoga poses, journaling. I've had a hard time. I'll tell you, wouldn't say it's a hard time. I go through phases with journaling, and some people love it and it can be really cathartic and helpful for some people that are really in that stress mode to start journaling. One thing I love, because literally my hand just starts to hurt if I'm writing a lot, is to grab the voice notes on my phone and go somewhere by myself and just talk to it. Just like turn on voice notes and journal, like voice journal, I would call it. Is that a thing? I don't know. Voice journaling, where you just get your thoughts out for 2 to 5 minutes. Go sit in your car and shut the door. If you have family members or your partner, your husband at home, go sit in your car and shut the door and voice note. And you can delete it if you don't want to listen back to it. But what you did was you took all of that stuff that was in your brain, making you sit in fight or flight mode and feel super stressed about it. And you said it out loud or you wrote it down on paper if you like to write it. And it is amazing what that can do for your stress. So this is a huge topic. There's so much more you can do. If you have ideas that work for you that you love or questions about stress management, please shoot me a message over on Instagram. Anything that comes in, we can chat about on next week's episode. But I want you, if you take away anything from this episode, I want you to realize that stress, A, is a huge deal for your fertility, and B, it's not out of your control. It doesn't mean you have to quit your job or stop trying to get pregnant, but it's the approach in which you are going about it, right? Like, I go back and listen again to when I was talking about your fertility journey. One other piece of this I can't turn the episode off without talking about is some type of faith, some type of spiritual belief in your life. I am a Christian and believe in God, and I'm telling you guys that prayer life, like spending a few minutes in prayer and talking to God can I not say regular anymore? Regularly throughout the day really, really changes my mindset and reminds me that A, there's a plan for my life. B, I am not in control. And C, everything is going to be fine. Whatever your belief system is, lean heavily on that. Don't just make it a thing that you do on Sundays or once in a while or on holidays. Make it a part of your everyday life, because like, if you can build a relationship with God or whatever that means to you in your life, it will change the way you approach everything in your life, because the things that are making you feel incredibly stressed right now are likely not within your control. And once you can give that to God or whatever you make God to be in your life, it can be very freeing and you can find some peace. Okay. Thank you guys for listening. I will see you next week.